The biggest thing was just believing in myself and knowing that I had the capability and the possibility to do it. Even if I was unsure, like I was undoubtedly, I would visualize myself on top of the podium. And even in 2013, when like if you looked at paper, me versus the other athletes, there was no way like Margaux would make it. But like I believed in it, I visualized it, I executed. If any bumps came up, I stuck to the plan and I qualified.
Mhm.
Obviously, again, it comes down to the work and putting the effort in. But I think for myself is believing the fact that I can do it and having like almost like a all or nothing mentality. And I think that's really important is like if you doubt yourself and you don't think you're able to do it, what you tell yourself and how you talk to yourself will have a direct impact to your body.
Welcome to the Captains and Coaches Podcast. We explore the art and the science of leadership through the lens of athletics and beyond. I'm your host, Tex McCulkin, and today we're joined by Margaux Alvarez, a 7-time CrossFit Games competitor who dominated the sports during its golden era 2013 to 2019. But Margaux's story goes far beyond athletic achievement. From her diverse background and athletic roots in Montana to the Games podium, she discovered that true transformation happens when we train not just our bodies, but also our minds. Now, through her Go Train program, Margaux empowers athletes and everyday movers to build strength that extends far beyond the gym walls. This isn't just about sets and reps. It's about cultivating resilience, embracing challenge, and using movement as the vehicle for personal growth. Margaux believes fitness should prepare us for life's adventures, whether that's conquering a mountain or simply moving through our daily lives with confidence and vitality. Get ready for an inspiring conversation about visualization, overcoming adversity, and the profound connection between physical and mental strength. This is your invitation to redefine what's possible. And now, we'll hand it off to Margaux in 3, 2, 1, and go. Action. Margaux. Well, magic's in the editing. Margaux, thank you very much. I was Margaux Alvarez. I was like trying to combine them like Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez real quick. Well, sorry about that. Rough start. Welcome
You're
to the show.
totally fine. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we have a lot of mutual acquaintances and friends in the fitness industry. So this is an exciting opportunity for me, really, to relive some of the glory days that were fitness in that 2010 to 2020 timeframe. It was a special place for CrossFit, and yeah, you are one of those name brands that really built that fitness brand, especially on the games. So again, thank you for the opportunity to connect.
Of course, I'm excited to be here. I think back to those early days, and those were some of the definitely some great memories back then. I think some people kind of joke about it, like the golden era of CrossFit or golden era of the games. And I think a lot of people are probably on the same page with this, but it definitely, I mean, that was a big chunk, all my chunk of competing. And I think there's a lot of good memories, a lot of good kind of moments back then. But it's always good to reflect and reminisce. And I think that sometimes is just a constant reminder to really be present where you are and, appreciate each moment you have because time will go by fast and then you'll look back and be like, oh, remember when? So I'm definitely grateful for those times.
And the healthy competition, because when it's 3, 2, 1, go, you're pushing, you're moving, you're shaking, but at the end of it, it's there's still all love for everybody. That was the beauty of the games at that highest level.
hmm You were doing it because you loved it. And I remember Jenny LaBaugh, if you remember her back in the early days, like 2011, 12, 13. But I went and trained with her before my first year at the CrossFit Games in 2013. And she was telling me, do it because you love it. If you start to do it for other reasons, you're going to start to lose that love and passion. And that was something that always stuck with me. And it's like, I'm doing it because I want to push myself to the highest level to see what can I accomplish? Like, how far can I push myself? I'm doing it for the love of the sport, not for anything else. So it was a good reminder.
Yeah, and just working with high level female athletes within the CrossFit realm, what I found is they always had a base, just a foundation of athletic things growing up and this life that they led that then maybe when an athletic career was over, for example, Christy Adkins, college lacrosse player, shout out, then there was this platform that was still high intensity, it was competitive, and an opportunity to be on a team because that's what a lot of the
Mhm.
community aspect was for it. So take us all the way back to growing up Montana and just this collection of fitness that you built right from the get go. Another pun, sorry.
Yeah. You're totally good. It plays into it. Yeah, so I pretty much grew up in Montana. I was actually born in La Jolla, California. Only spent about 5 years of my life there. Once my youngest sister was born, moved to Seattle, outside Seattle, lived there for a couple of years. But I pretty much consider myself a Montana girl. Spent most of my life there. Had the opportunity to do like some ballet, a little bit of gymnastics for a short amount of time. Did some taekwondo, horseback riding. And I think the eclectic mix of sports that I got into and variety of activities I got into definitely helped shape who I am, but also allowed me to kind of explore different avenues. And I was just talking to some clients at the gym today about that in regards to, kids shouldn't just do one sport, especially when they're growing up. Like, yes, if you want to be really good at one thing, you eventually can get there, but to have a variety of sports or activities under your belt, I think it gives you a little bit of diversity. I think being able to play golf, play volleyball, do taekwondo, I think a lot of those things help set the precedent for not only being dynamic, but even being able to dabble and level up in different activities. Do I want to do them all? For sure. Is it impossible? Not necessarily, but it's hard to obviously excel in one if you're doing three or four. But I think as a young child, having that opportunity to do that, and shout out to my mom for like taking us to ballet and gymnastics and jazz and horseback riding, taekwondo and golf, all these things back and forth. I think that was very important. And so I'd say to anyone out there that are considering putting their kids in activities or sports, like, do it. I'm so glad I had that base because that allowed me to, one, I think, stay grounded. Two, it gave me a good foundation. I think the golf and the taekwondo specifically helped me with my mindset and staying calm. And, you can, crap the bed on one hole, but if you get inside your head, you have another 17 holes or another round after that, that you still have to stay sane. So I think the eclectic mix of sports and activities I had growing up was very beneficial. And I'm super glad I had that experience.
Hmm. Yeah, within the realm now, I'm still coaching lacrosse. I had the opportunity to play college ball, but seeing kids, they want to specialize and move away from sports. But then a sport like lacrosse, it is just such an amalgamation of all different sports: basketball, soccer, football, contact, baseball, hand eye. So all these tools
Yeah.
that almost make you a great player can be built by even not specializing, but just dabbling in all those sports growing up. And in same respect to CrossFit, it's all these different now energy systems and demands of all these different sports were called upon, and you had exposure to it versus just getting stumped at the games when the old what was it called, a chipper.
I'll say wood chipper, the chipper, yeah.
Yeah, whenever that was in play. So yeah, it's so cool that that base was established. And then what I also appreciate is you had a love for fitness and competition that you held on to.
Yeah. Oh, thank
um,
you for that. I think it's important. Like community's always like pulled me in. But I think it's important, like as you grow and as you evolve, whether it's competition or you're just moving for life to be able to live a longer, healthier life. I think it's very important. Like once you stop taking your body through ranges of motion, once you kind of start sitting on the couch more, your body's going to start to take the positions of what you spend most of your time. And I get if we have jobs or we have a position where we have to be in front of a desk or computer, I get that, but it's like do something each day to kind of combat that, whether it's walking or hiking or going to the gym or playing pickleball, which I know has become really popular recently. But I think the biggest thing is like fitness and activity. It's not just like, okay, we're working out, but it's you're finding some sort of activity that you fall in love with that allows you to stay active. And I think that's a big component to that, fountain of youth people talk about. Obviously, there's other factors that play in part. But you think of it like a wheel, like a spoke, right? Like all these different spokes that come off of it. You have fitness, you have your sleep, you have your stress, right? Your time management, your pleasure, your all these other things that play into it. And I think if you negate most of them, next thing you know, you're going to kind of feel off or funky, like a blown tire.
hmm and yeah, only strengthening one of those pillars, the whole thing then falls apart. Maybe it's functioning strong for one moment, but when one of those spokes breaks, it's too hard, especially the older you get, to get back on the road.
Yes,
Uh,
I agree.
Everyone has a first CrossFit workout story, so I'd love to hear yours of how it went. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you get hooked off the bat? What was the workout?
Yeah, so there's kind of like two experiences of that. I'll give my initial first one. So the first one, I'd been a I was a personal trainer at a gym. I'd left, done some marketing in a couple different different jobs in Oakland, and I changed gyms. I had like a free month or a free like session with one of the trainers there. And so his name is actually Dusty Solon, which owned CrossFit Santa Ramon back in the day, which I think he's still there. But he was like my first exposure to it. But he's like, hey, we're gonna do this workout. I was like, cool. And I ended up finding out later it was Filthy 50.
Oh
And it
God.
was like, like I look back and I'm like, oh, that's my first workout. But that's so like grassroots CrossFit. Like, here, we're gonna give you the worst, hardest workout. Like, good luck. But I remember I did some interval training, circuit training. I was an NASM certified personal trainer. So like I had an idea of some of that stuff. But lifting a 45-pound barbell overhead for like the push presses, I just remember dying, and the burpees and the wall balls, everything, double unders. It was so hard. But that was my first exposure. And I was like, man, this is really hard and really difficult. But I think I kind of liked that pain. I liked that challenge. I think I've always been drawn to challenges. I've always been drawn to, I would say, maybe uncomfortable situations because I know that's where growth happens, or maybe like unconsciously I didn't know that that's where growth happens. And so I really like that. So that was my first exposure. He was like, "Yeah, I should check out CrossFit," and I was like, "Okay." And I ended up never not doing it. I ended up just doing like the little workouts that he gave me, and then I would just go to the gym. Ended up getting into like Tough Mudders and obstacle courses. Joined a UFC gym. I wanted to get into submission wrestling. Fast forward a little bit more, I ended up going to a gym with a friend of mine. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna go do this workout. It's down the road." I was like, "Cool." And it was burpees and snatches. I don't remember specifically, but I just remember it being so hard. And all I had were the 45-pound bars. And I have one short thumb, so my right thumb is shorter than my left. So trying to hook grip that barbell, I was like, "This bar is gonna fly out of my hand. I'm gonna hit some of the bar." So it was crazy. But I remember afterwards just being on the floor. I'm like, "Wow, that was so hard, but so refreshing." It was a while. So those were like kind of my two experiences with my first workout.
Yeah, that sounds about right. People
Yeah.
either love it or hate it, or tried it, hated it, and they're like, actually, this sounds like a good time. And
Yeah.
then within the respect to the competition side of things, because there's getting fit, there's the community aspect, but then there's the games. This is a whole different level. So
Yeah.
did those community workouts lead to an open? Like, how did you get involved in the competitive side of things?
Yeah, so that I joined, I think, like, a couple weeks before the Open started. I think this was, like, end of early 2011, like, end of January, beginning of February, I think the Open started maybe in February, March. But I wanna say it's, like, 2 to 3 weeks, and people were like, "You should sign up for this." I was like, "Okay, why not?" I'd done a couple half marathons before, and I wasn't shy of like, signing up for stuff. So I signed up, and I am definitely a little competitive. Excuse me. So I was like, "Well, I wanna do good." I remember emailing my family after, like, the first week. I'm like, "I'm doing this competition, and I'm, like, 30th place." Because I was just so excited. So I ended up that was the first year, 2011 was the first year was kind of a bye week because they had issues. So many people had signed up. It was the first year doing the online kind of
Hmm.
qualifier. And so they ended up doing 2 weeks for that first open. I don't know if you remember that. It was a double unders and snatches. And so did the open that first year, didn't make it far, volunteered for the NorCal regionals that year. Or sorry, I volunteered for the SoCal regionals that year. Absolutely loved it. I was like, I want to compete with these ladies. I remember seeing Becca Voigt, Chris Clever, and Katie Hogan on the competition floor with the
Yeah,
thrusters. If you remember
yeah,
that, that was down in SoCal and Del Mar. And I saw that. I was like, these women are badass. I want to be like these women. And so I had volunteered for the games that year, and I saw those women compete. I was like, I want to make it here. Like, this is incredible. And that was kind of like my fast track, I would say, to competition in terms of seeing that, visualizing it, being a part of it in the sense of volunteering. I was like, I want to do this. So then after that, I had like the job I had for a marketing company. They were moving. And so I ended up kind of just doing contract work with them, picked up two coaching positions, two different gyms in the Bay Area. And I was like, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get there.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah,
So I would say I was that CrossFit Kool-Aid drinking girl for sure.
back then it was interesting. It was different.
Hmm.
It's before like the CrossFit became an identity. It was still this opportunity abounds. Yeah, that back in that time I was managing a CrossFit gym in DC. That's where I met Christy, and then
Nice.
I was leading it like a sports team. The community that we were building, and the Open it was our Super Bowl. None of us were going to make it that far, but it was an opportunity for us to truly come together and then like see what the morning and the evening people coming together was like. So Yeah, it was a special time, and really leaning into those online events to build your own in gym community. I feel they did a great job back in that day. And then,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and then the StubHub Center. I felt that was. I've been to Madison as well in 2017. So the StubHub, I feel like that was just perfect for vendors,
Yeah.
for fans, for competitors. Just a great layout.
It was. I agree. I think the open stadium obviously like played a part into it. And I remember in 2013, one of the events, I think it was 2007 where we started off with a 1K row and then we had like 25 pull-ups, 7 shoulder overhead for like 4 or 5 rounds. I think it was 5 rounds. And I just remember like doing this workout and like the sun was setting. It gives me goosebumps talking about it, but like the sun was setting, you could see like the beautiful sky, like the crowd erupting in these roars as people cross the finish line. And it's like
Mhm.
it was very special, it was very unique. And I think obviously the history of, from 2010 it being the first year and then being able to have it transform over the years, it was just unique. And I think in 2015, having that sandbag event where you had to go back, and again, it gives me goosebumps, but like you relive what people did back then, the athletes did back then. I'm like, it gave this aura about it that nothing to take away from Madison because I had the opportunity to compete at both locations, but it's different, right? I think part of the history there makes it unique. The vendor village made it open where people could pass through. You had the different stadiums. And I think again, part of that, like you said, I mean, I know I mentioned it earlier, but like that grassroots beginning, like here, we're all here to throw down and just, get nitty gritty and get after it.
Mm-hmm. And a joke I had with a teammate. Sidebar: did you ever attend CrossFit football seminar during back in the day?
I didn't, but I knew of John Wellborn, and I knew a handful of people that knew him pretty well. But I didn't get to. That was something like on my agenda, but I never got to it.
Yeah, so I was on that team. So a buddy of mine, Luke, we'd always joke that yeah, we went to the games. We were just running a booth and attending all
Yeah,
the events. So
but that's still a
our
great experience.
yeah, oh yeah, it was fantastic, and we had a vertical jump set up at our CrossFit football booth. So we're just testing people's vertical jumps, trying to connect performance into the world, and it was all around a great time. Time out. Let's take a second to talk about the Old Bull Training Program. This is an online strength and conditioning program that I'm writing for myself and handing to you. I'm a former collegiate athlete, strength and conditioning guinea pig for the last 15 years. I'm feeling every game, I'm feeling every training session and exploratory work that I've been through. Now I take all those lessons and the feeling and the pressure and the corrections, and then I hand it off to you. What I love most about the program and highly encourage people to do is film their lifts, post it into the feed, and then we give them fast feedback to help them correct those lifts. Why I love that, everyone else gets to see those lifts, they see the coaching cues, and they're starting to learn and develop their own coordination and maybe seeing something that someone else is doing that they can feel for. That's the beauty of this program. It's constantly evolving, and we're having fun there. That's also the thing. We're having fun. There's a great leaderboard, and people are finding others to compete with. I love the program. I'm out there doing it with you, and I encourage you to train with me, not for me. For a free trial, 7 days, click the link in the show notes. Try the Old Bull program. And now, back to the show. Ready, and break. I'd love to know like some behind the scenes. Like what was your mental approach? Because I mean, it was multiple workouts a day. In traditional
Yeah,
sports, we're like, here's our game. I got one time to mentally prepare. But what's unique about CrossFit, I got 2, 3, 4 workouts in a day. So take us into your mind. Like what were you leaning into? What was your approach to each workout? And did it change on the different days when stuff really started to get tough?
for sure. No, that's a great question. I think to lay the groundwork, my coach was very valued mindset and valued kind of like how you talk to yourself. I think that was very important, and I agree. I think growing up and having golf as one of my sports that I played, it would played into that mindset of being able to kind of stay even keeled, even though it may be chaos on the outside. If you're hitting crappy balls, you're going to the water or the sand, you still have to kind of stay balanced in your head because you still have so many more shots, you still have so many more holes, especially if you're playing 3 or 4 days. So I think that kind of helped. One thing that I really relied a lot on, and my coach was adamant about, was visualization. So visualizing the workouts, visualizing the events, if we knew them, like regionals or open, where you kind of plan for it. So I would anticipate, focus on each movement, moving from one time to the next. Minimizing transition was very important. As it played into regionals, depending on which region you had maybe a week to maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks back in like 2014 to kind of plan and prepare for that. So visualization was a huge component. Physically, like going through the motions, practicing, but also mentally. And I think that helped me get reps in a way where I'm getting those repetitions. So by the time I get to the competition field, I had already done it multiple of times. Learning to let go, learning to, maybe appreciate what went well, what didn't go well, how could I improve on that? And then letting it go and not hold on to it. Because I see a lot of people, whether it was back then or recently, where you hold on to these negative experiences or bad finishes, and then you hold on to that, and then that carries on to the next and the next and the next event, and then you're in this deficit because you didn't let go of that first workout. So I think I really try to practice that, not only in my day-to-day training, but also mimicking competition. The games obviously were a little different, where maybe you don't know what elements are going to be next, you don't know exactly what the details are going to be until right before, or maybe the night before. So being able to think on the fly and be dynamic, think through all the possibilities, was important. But a lot of the visualization, I think, was that groundwork for myself, and going through those repetitions were important, and repeating it over and over and over, even if it seems redundant. It's like, that's where those, small transitions, or those 2 to 3 seconds, add up, when like you're wasting too much time getting to chalk, or go, oh, I left my belt over there, oh, I need to grab my wrist straps, or oh, I forgot to, move the bell to the next station, or that's because that's going to allow me to move on to the next round. So small things like that, I think, added up, and that allowed me to be a little more proficient.
Did you ever watch film, or was your coach ever able to give you feedback quickly after each workout?
Yeah, depending on the situation, like if I had the opportunity to go back in the back, whether it's regionals or the games, I had the opportunity to go over it and like, let's talk about it, dissect it. Hey, went well, what didn't go well? How could we improve? For sure, in games, I would go back and watch old element or old events, or I'd watch film of myself transitioning. I think that's really important. I know, obviously, in football, that a lot of players will go back and watch film. I think that also played a part. I'm not sure. I imagine it's still part of people's routines, athletes' routines these days. But I think with events, you have so much history now. It's like going back and looking at old events. Obviously, there's, you're looking at 2010 to 2022. That's a obviously different time frame for sure. But I think it was important to go back and look at old workouts and say, all right, if my competitor is really good at gymnastics, where am I going to make the edge on her? If she's going to crush the handstand push-ups, do I change my strategy, or do I make sure I take advantage of what I'm strong at? I remember in 2011 when I volunteered, I can't remember the athlete's name, but she crushed the 1K run into the 30 handstand push-ups. She like crushed a 1K run. She came in super fast, but handstand push-ups were not her jam. Another athlete came, I think, 5 or 6 spots back, and she just dominated gymnastics and was able to get on the rower. So I think it's, understanding and knowing your athletes that you're competing with. At the same time, you can't control that. So focus on your controllables, but also be aware of, hey, if I need to be aware of my athletes or my surroundings, how can I play into that based on the research that you did? So I did do some of that. I think that was important. And also looking at, even if film wasn't around, I could go back and look at times. Like, what were the times for this athlete in this regional this year?
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. You were scouting your opponents. I didn't realize that was a part of it. I thought it was just you do you and
Yeah, I think,
don't worry about
I
me.
think it's a blend of both, right? Like, I think my coach was doing a lot more, like, looking at, hey, this athlete did this and this, spending a lot more time on that. I think that's important. Again, I think you as an athlete, you cannot control them, right? You can control yourself, but you also can be aware, like, all right, if I know they're gonna break there on the pull-ups, but I know I'm strong enough to get through them, maybe I play into the strengths that I have so that I can pass them and get an advance. Like, for example, the marathon row in 2018, I took the same approach, similar approach to 2013 when we had that 2K row into the half marathon, because it was essentially a time trial, right? Like, your one score was 2K, your second score was a half marathon. So if I take the same approach ish, right? If I get ahead in the beginning, maybe that's going to put me out in front, and I can keep that lead for the full marathon. Is it a gamble? Yes. Could I lose it? Yes. How am I going to feel the next day? Don't know. But at the same time, like, I'm going to take that gamble. And obviously it played off. Like, winning the marathon row was great. My training partner, Whitney Glenn, she got second. So we had the same strategy, kind of time trial that 2K ish, right? And then settle into a pace you can try to maintain a hold. So it worked out. I'm like, goodness, knock on wood.
Yeah, just it sounds like so much work. I'm sweating thinking about it. Uh,
Yeah.
what was your favorite uh, like workout during that games? Any games? What was your favorite event? I was trying to think of the word event.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, out of all the years, I think the 2013, the 2007 in 2013 event was great because, like I said, that 1K row into the 25 pull up, 7 push jerk, I think it was for 5 rounds, just because the setting was incredible. And what gives me goosebumps is like, it was not the entire movement. One, like I was able to finally sync my butterfly pull ups together and to have it come to culmination on the biggest stage was incredible, but also crossing the finish line and having people erupt in like these loud cheers and like throw high fives. You don't even know these people, they're strangers, but we're all community. And like we as athletes wouldn't be there without them, right? We wouldn't be there without the community, and the community's there supporting us. So it was like this like synergy of like excitement and celebration. And that was one of my favorite workouts because, like I said, the sun was setting. It was this culmination of the day. Didn't win it. I can't remember how I placed on that, but it was such a epitome of a memory being in that sub-hub center. And then after that, I think the 2015 games, the pegboard event, because that was my first win, being able to complete the pegboards, get to the roar, get to the salt bike. And it's funny because I leading up to the games, there was a pegboard at the gym that I was going to in El Paso, and I told my coach, I was like, "Hey, like I should maybe get on that. Maybe they'll have it." They're like, "No, we have other things we need to work on, like strict handstand push-ups," which he was right. Strict handstand push-ups for sure needed more work. But when it came up at the games, I just like laughed at myself. I was like, "Oh man!" But I think it was a blessing in disguise because not knowing how to maybe necessarily use it or utilize it played into part to actually being able to not go in there with expectations. Granted, I had done a lot of ice cream makers and training on the rings, so I think that position mimicked what you had on the pegboard. But being able to go out there, have an event win, and I didn't know till afterwards, but Amanda Goodman, she had gone all the way through the pegboards as well. She got onto the bike. I don't know how many calories she got on, but she had gotten second. But like, I think a lot of people were like, "Why is she going ham on the bike? She has another workout." And I'm like, in my mind, there were previous heats. I don't know how far they got. Like, I didn't know how, and I didn't want to watch the screen because I didn't want to, like, my coach, I think, was watching the screen to see how people were doing it, but I was just focusing on like how I would mimic that movement. Um, but I think for myself, it was like, I don't know how anyone else is going to do or had done in the previous heat. So my goal is just go all out, leave everything out there. And, you know, and again, it worked out. I took the gamble and it paid off.
There you go. Yeah, pegboards. So I mentioned offline. Yeah, worked with Christy coming back from a bicep tear from
Hmm.
Team Invictus. Like she returned home to DC, and then we were doing so much true eccentrics. Like she was trying to hold a good pull up position, and then I would muscle her down like we're trying to gain confidence in that bicep again. So truly overloading it to the max amount, and we did so much just trust within the different positions. And then when pegboard came up, Luke and I were sitting like front row for that event, and then she finished fifth. I believe it was the 2016 version of that, but just
Yes.
like people got smoked on that, and I'm like, we freaking hammered this over
That's
and over
awesome.
again. As soon as that like was listed, I was so happy. I'm like, oh, we got this game over.
Heck yeah.
Um, so
That's awesome.
yeah, I'm getting goosebumps from that moment in that the Bulls Stadium from that. What I've always wondered, and you brought up a point I want to highlight, is the like it's supposed to be random. If you were the first heat, it was always random. What was it like being in the chute? Did you get to see the others compete, or they keep you in like a silent, quiet room so you didn't know? What's like the
I
background?
think, yeah, so I'm trying to remember. I think some things they caught, like they kept us in like a room where we couldn't necessarily. I think one of the years I'm trying to remember. There's one of the years we all had to sit in like this underground. This was in the StubHub Center. We were like in like concrete basement somewhere, and we didn't know what the workout was. They were announcing it, so we couldn't hear what was going on. So they kept us in there. I can't remember what year. Had to been like 15 or 16 maybe. But we essentially didn't really know what was going up, and I think it was actually like the Fibonacci triangle or something. It was like 10, 5, 10, 15, or 15, 10, 5, or something like that. I can't remember, but it was like bar muscle ups and a thruster or something like that. But they essentially kept us in there. Other times where like you could see the heats going out, you could see people doing the workouts, the lifts, the events. I think with the pegboard, I can't remember if the athletes were there a lot. I think that maybe the coaches could be in there, but like the athletes couldn't be in there. I can't really remember, but I don't remember really watching that because I remember I was practicing on the rings in the back, just like trying to get prepared.
Hmm.
And I mean, that was like the second to last workout, right? There was two workouts last. You're smoked. You're kind of like, hey, man, giving it all I got. But I think for the most part, I think it's a great point. Like first heat does, like, hey, they're kind of like you're the trial, heat, say how it goes, and then after that, you can kind of play into it depending on how much you know or how much you hear. And again, also there's that can be good and bad because there were some times where, the workouts were played out and it's like there I remember in 2016 it was with like box jumps and D-ball overs, and there was a lot of issues with like reps being miscalled or like judges being called, and like myself and other people had gotten some no reps when in actuality like they were good reps. They were like extra, like we did extra reps, and so it was this, again, that's obviously part of the like that's part of the process, right? No one's gonna have a perfect run, we'll say. But yeah, that was something you can use. That's uncontrollable, right? You can't control
Mhm.
that, but how you respond to that is important.
Yeah. Yeah. Working with a lot of high schoolers, just the refs make a call and then you're almost training their response versus what the actual call was. And then as a coach, if I spend more time calming the kids down, then I can't talk to the refs about it. And so if they're trained to be calm and let the refs say what they're going to say, then I can communicate to the refs to try to manage and mitigate or argue appropriately. Right.
Yep.
Um, yeah.
Exactly.
So seven consecutive games, is this a record? Do you hold the record?
I don't think I hold the record. I think there's some other athletes that have a little bit more. I want to say probably there's like 8. I wanna say 8. I mean, I know Becca's gone, like, 10 times. I know some of it's been, like, individual to, like, masters. So, I mean, mine was 6 individual, 1 team. But I think in the beginning, like, I think Lauren Fisher has 6. Again, the handful, I think Annie Thorisdottir, she has maybe, like, 8 or 9. I could be wrong, don't quote me on those. But I think, I mean, I'm very grateful for that because every year you never are guaranteed next year, right? You're never gonna be guaranteed, "Hey, you're gonna go back." Is there injuries or limitation? Are there other athletes that have never made it that are going to come up? And so I tried to make sure that I made the most of every year that I had, every opportunity. And it's tough because as an athlete and as a competitor, you want to be one, you want to be number one, you want to win, and it's like winning's fucking hard. Excuse my language. It's hard, right? Like to consistently win is difficult, and like to consistently make it back. Like I was always grateful and thankful to make it there, but it's like next year, like what am I going to do? Like what do I got to work on next, right? Because the level of competition is always going to elevate us. And like Dave always elevated us as athletes. And I know there's different people who say different things, but I'm grateful for Dave Castro because he constantly pushed us as athletes to like rise to the occasion. You either rise to that level of training, you rise to the level of competition, or you don't. And if you're not prepared, cool, go back to the drawing board. Excuse me. And the perfect example is 2013 when they had the legless workout. It was thrusters and legless. And I remember it was like 4-3-2-1 of legless and like thrusters. And that was a lot of athletes failed that. It was difficult, but it's like, buck up, we got to rise to the occasion because next year come regionals, there was 10 legless rope climbs with a run in between, right? So it's like you either train and you practice and you push or you don't. And again, perfect example, 2015, pegboard comes out, comes back again in 16, right? So I think that there's a lot of things that can challenge us. And so for myself, it was like to go back and continue to say, I'm going to compete again and again and again. And to make it 7 years in a row, 6 as individual, obviously 1 as a team, like that's hard and it's difficult. I have a hard time giving myself props, let alone like recognizing that. But I think it's something that's really important to say, you have done X and you continue to do X and you continue to show up and push. And like, that's something you have to be like accomplishing, or at least celebrate the success. Like I tell all my athletes and clients, like celebrate that success, embrace the struggle, and continue to make the most of every single day. So I would continue to make the most of every year and every competition because I knew next year is not guaranteed. Things change, life happens.
Yeah. And more people enter into the competitive pool that are amazing athletes. The
Yep.
What was it like transitioning from individual to team?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think in 2018, after the games, I was like, man, like I'd already launched my wine brand. I had already had like my fitness kind of media company I was running, doing, and I think it was tough mentally more than physically, right? Like you said, other athletes are coming in, younger athletes that have been doing it since they were teenagers coming in. So the level of competition, the age was decreasing, right? Um, and I think it got to the point where I was like, man, like I really like this, but it's hard to do both. It's hard to like focus on my businesses and focus on competition because I might physically be in the gym, but then I'm mentally, man, I need to be doing promotions. I need to do ride alongs with the distributors. I need to reach out to these wine shops. And it was just like this back and forth. So I think after that year, I was like, like I'm thinking of stepping away. And a lot of people are like, no, don't go. And it's hard because it's like, I love competing and I love challenging myself. At the same time, it was like, I think I'm transitioning to competing with the wine business or competing with my fitness business and like being able to focus more on that. And then an opportunity arose in, what was it? For the Rogue Invitational, I think it was May. That was my last individual competition. I was like, hey, this is my last individual competition. I'm, stepping away from this. I'm going to focus more on my businesses. I think that was like the Open 2019 was like, I'm not going to do the Open because I'm going to focus on my businesses. I'll focus on coaching. And then Rogue Invitational was my last individual, which I loved. I've been part of Rogue since 2015. Very grateful for them. I love Katie and Bill. I love the community and the standard that they hold. And to be a part of the Rogue Invitational since 2019 has been an absolute honor. And I wanted to have that as be like, hey, this is my last individual competition. An opportunity arose right after that to be with Invictus X with Christy Ermo, Holden and Sam. And that was a really cool opportunity. Like I've known them for a long time, all of them for a long time. And to be able to be a part of that was good. I'd done some team series with like Dan and Sam back in 2015 and Rich 2015, 2016. So I had some good experience with that. Um, it's definitely a little more, I would say, of a mindset sometimes because you don't want to let your teammates down. You're like, man, I don't want to shit
Oh,
the bed, not just for myself, but for them. So I think that's something you understand as you may not be the strongest at some points. You may not be the weakest. Like you might be having a strength, right? But then another teammate will have their weaker moment and then vice versa. So it's like, kind of like an accordion, right? You're meeting yourself where all the other athletes are. You're finding that common ground and you step up where you need to. So it was a really cool experience. I loved it. I had a blast and I'm glad I had the opportunity with them because I know after that, I mean, 2019 was with a lot of things were changing with CrossFit. And then obviously, 2020 was a crap show with everything that happened. So I'm glad I took that opportunity to do that. And obviously they were really welcoming and, bringing me in was awesome.
yeah. And so, fun question in line with that. What were your post individual competition meals? Because you're burning a hell of a lot more calories. And then what was like the team meal? Where did the team decide to go after that 1 year?
Oh man, that's a great question. I can't even remember. Oh, we afterwards we went to Chick-fil-A and I've never been to Chick-fil-A. I know. I'm not like I think so like a little backstory. I had growing up we would eat a lot of like fried chicken like in Montana. There was a store down the road called Gary and Leo's. My mom would get like fried chicken. We'd eat fried chicken. I think I ate lots of that. So I had like my fill of chicken, but then also going into college, I was afraid of gaining like the freshman 15. I think I went through a little bit of an eating disorder, had anorexia for a little bit. That kind of fell into or transitioned into like bulimia. Not a good habit, binge eating, all that stuff. So I think I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I need to eat healthy and like fried chicken's bad. So ever since then, I'm like, man, I really don't eat fried food. So I was like, cool, I'll go get a grilled chicken. They're like, grilled chicken. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, I think I had a bite of someone's, but it was fun just to celebrate together. I think we got like milkshakes too or something like that, which I
Yeah.
love milkshakes. I had a milkshake for sure. But yeah, like post competition, it's usually, and it's tough because I think I have a really good relationship with food now. Like I worked through that through after university and got to the point where I was normal. And I think it's funny because I'm like, oh, if I'm gonna have a hamburger, like cheeseburger, I don't consider that a cheat meal. People are like, oh yeah, cheeseburger, hamburger is like bad. I'm like, oh, like I just, I know, like for me, it doesn't seem bad, but I would always have some sort of like dessert. I love dessert. So, and I love wine. So I would definitely have a couple glasses of wine. I would definitely have some dessert, maybe two desserts, and just like enjoy myself. Right. I think we train a lot, and a lot of us eat for performance. Right. So you need the calories, you need the macronutrients for that. At the end of the time, like again, I have my wine brand that I manage and run. So it's like my motto is work hard, wine down. So like I'm gonna have a glass or two at the end of the day, not only just to enjoy myself, but I know like tomorrow's not guaranteed, next week's not guaranteed. So I know that I'm gonna enjoy myself, especially through a competition. Like you might be a little more strict on how you're eating or what you're doing, but at the end of the competition, it's like, all right, celebrate the success, enjoy yourself.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I would be thinking about the whole time. I'm just
Yeah. Give me that bottle of wine. Just kidding.
yeah, bottles, line them up, set
Bottles, exactly.
yeah, and
Well, it's
all
funny because I think, oh, go ahead.
no, just all the chicken, all the Chick-fil-A, waffle fries, let's go.
Yeah, I love waffle fries. Those are bomb. It makes me think of like churros. I love churros as well. Like the cinnamon sugar, that'd be for sure I'd have after that. But one thing I was just gonna say is after the marathon row, that was a Wednesday? We had Wednesday. I remember going back to the hotel restaurant in Madison and whatever I ate, I can't remember, steak or something like that, mashed potatoes. And then I had a glass of wine. And I think Pat Vellner's parents were there. And they're like, oh my God. Margaux having wine after the marathon. Like, she's amazing. I'm like, I mean, hey man, we have tomorrow off for like, right, I'm gonna enjoy my glass of wine. It'll be fine. Like, we just rode however many, calories. I was like, I'm pretty sure a glass of wine is not gonna hurt me.
Yeah,
But
and
they were awesome. I love
alcohol's
Pat Vellner and his family.
yeah, alcohol's 7 calories a gram, right? So you can
Yep.
drink more and get more energy. I get it.
Exactly.
Uh,
Perfect.
all these years of games, I imagine there were never not injuries as a part of this training. So, speak to us about the seasons, the seasonality of setting up your training, and did an injury ever derail a plan where you had to almost overwork to get back on track?
No, that's a great question. Luckily, I didn't have a lot of injuries. I want to say like knock on wood, even though it's already passed. I think being smart, taking some time after the games to kind of decompress, also not just physically but mentally, right? There's a lot of stress, training, all that. So taking a couple weeks after the games, just hop in with classes, kind of do whatever I want. Then slowly ramping up. I think the biggest thing that my coach was really implementing was making sure that I'm still focusing on strength, but also conditioning, right? Like not just doing one or the other, but kind of constantly blending both, especially these days where it's like you need to constantly elevate and push yourself. Like working on your conditioning, whether that's specifically in one modality or multiple modalities, excuse me. Also working on high volume gymnastics. A lot of this training that he had me do was, maybe kind of you look at like time based or structured. Like if you're looking at runs, right, you'll have like a runs for time, or you have an interval, or you have multiple 400s in a workout. But taking that same kind of time frame and taking it, hey, maybe what about muscle ups? What are your max set of muscle ups? How many muscle ups can you do unbroken? Can you do them in sets of 10 or sets of 8 for 5 to 6 sets? Also, can you do them after a mile run? Like, and obviously that played into 2014, right? Where it's like, you have to do muscle ups unbroken. Every time you break, you have to do 200-meter run. So a lot of the training we did, you look at like kind of time domains within a specific implement or movement, right? Taking that through gymnastics and weightlifting and all that stuff. And he'd also do a lot of kind of repeat stuff from the past, whether it was regionals or games, kind of taking those elements and pulling them back, which is good because then you can kind of retest, say, hey, how am I doing improving from last year's regionals to last year's games, etc. In terms of injuries, the role I had some like the only I would say the one really big injury I had was a broken first rib on my left side in 2014. 2014 was when they had strict handstand push-ups come out in the open for the first time, or sorry, in the regionals. And it was like 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, or something like that, of like strict handstand push-ups, front squats, and burpee over the bar. And that's like my like kryptonite, strict handstand push-ups at a deficit or even worse. So we had done a lot of high volume negatives, strict handstand push-ups leading into regionals, did regionals, and then I think maybe a couple weeks after, I felt like a pinch in my neck, and I thought it was a pinched nerve in my neck. I came to find out my first rib was broken, which when I went to the chiropractor and he did an x-ray, he's like, your back looks fine, your neck's fine, but like you have a first rib. He's like, how'd you do this? Like a broken first rib. I was like, I don't know. He's like, the only time I've seen this is from pictures, like high repetition throwing. I was like, hey, I was like, maybe the handstand push-ups. So I think that could have been it. Like the high volume maybe created like a stress fracture. Maybe I was doing jerks that week. So maybe I brought down the bar to my shoulders and like something tweaked, pinched or something like that. I don't know exactly what specifically caused it, but that was my major injury. And that was leading up to the games in 2014. And it was difficult because it was the question my coach and I went through was like, well, do I continue to compete or do I like pull out? I was like, I'm not pulling out. I qualified. I made it. I'm going. It was hard because I couldn't do any handstand push-ups, handstand walking, anything overhead. Like it killed me. It was like I was being stabbed in the back, like right at the upper like trap area. So just had to train around it. Like had to mitigate, did lots of lower body, lots of core, tried to do some overhead. Snatches were more durable or more, I would say, less uncomfortable than clean jerks. But again, like, is what it is. I mean, come 2014, it was like, hey, max overhead squat. I was like, sweet, haven't done this in months. So it is what it is. Like that's life, right? Like never are things ever going to go in your way. But that was a real big injury that I kind of trained around. I had some like hip and knee issues kind of come up just from like, again, you're using your body at high volumes, training 6 to 8 hours a day. A little bit of like maybe tendonitis or like IT band syndrome in terms of just tight body, but was able to mitigate stuff. I was a big proponent of a mobility, taking care of the body, self-care, Graston, myofascial work, cupping, all that stuff, ART, Chiro work. So I think I did pretty well with that. Um, Again, like I've had some back issues since, but I think that's more from sitting in a truck driving for 10 hours than lifting the next day. I think that's more the issue sitting more so than it is actually the lifting. So yeah.
Yeah. You've mentioned your coach a lot, and I want to spend some time with that relationship. This is what I love. I still still coach, and then thinking back to CrossFit. So Christy had a coach writing her program, and then I would look at the program and then just design movement prep and then work on specific injuries and limitations, uh, and then just give her the motivating pre-game, pre-football speech to get her rocking and rolling. So there was a lot of great moments uh, that we've had. So within the relationship with your coach, what approach did he take to leading you in this long season preparing for the games? And then what was it like the pre-game speech before the big moments on game day?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's tough because I think when we first started working together, it was kind of guiding me to, what's the best, like give me the best information. Like when I first started, I was a, like, again, like Kool-Aid CrossFit drinking girl. I was going to 3 different gyms to learn and train. And he was like, you need to kind of solidify your time. You need to streamline your time, which he was right in that sense of being able to do that. I think it was difficult because in my mind, I'm a sponge. I want to absorb as much as I can. But he was willing to take me in terms of an athlete and coach me and help me. That turned into a personal relationship later down the road. And so obviously, being partners and then being coach athlete, you're having to work through that dynamic, right? So you're having to work through like coach athlete and then personal relationship. So having to segment them and like kind of turn your brain off to certain things was a work in progress, but he was always very analytical and very strategic in terms of what was best for training, like looking at, all right, this is what's happening at the games level, this is what's happening at the regional level, this is what we need to get you at in terms of times or splits. So he had great foresight and vision in terms of that, and being able to look through it and talk and say, hey, this is the purpose physiologically wise, this is the purpose of this training, this is what we want to eventually get you to. You may not have tons of pull-ups yet, so we're going to work on this kind of component of it. So he be maybe dissect and pull elements of it out apart and then slowly work that in. In the beginning, I was probably training maybe 2 to 3 hours a day, and then over time, eventually got to the point where I was maybe training 6 to 8 hours a day. And it's tough because we'd have conversations like, what's the best way to train? Like, there's different all these different methodologies out there. Do we train more sport specific? Do you train more power? Do you train more endurance? And it's tough because with CrossFit, like, you don't necessarily want to be the best out of one thing. You want to be like kind of average a 7 out of 8 of everything, so you can be consistent, so you can be at the top. Obviously, excel at where you can excel, and know, hey, I may not be at the top of this, but it's the consistency across the board in events. And
Mm-hmm.
he would make sure, like, practice the visualization was very important, kind of repeat going over it. He was very adamant about transition time, because a lot of people would lose transition time. Okay, well, I'm going to go to the bar, I'm going to chalk up, then I'll hop on the bar. Like, no, get straight to the bar, minimize transition. So that was something that we kind of talked about. So having those conversations throughout the year, especially leading up to the preparation of competitions, was important. It'd be a little more stressful, obviously, around regionals, especially back then, where it's like, hey man, 40 to 45 people are competing for 5 spots. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're friendly and you're like, I'm a very easygoing person. Like, I like to laugh and chit chat and like talk story. One, I think that helps me not be less nervous, but also I'm a very big extrovert individual. Other people are more like, get the F away from me. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like you just lean into what you're at. But I think for the biggest part is like leaning into the confidence and leaning into the training that I've done. Like, you're spending so much more time in training. So the conversations we would have throughout that year, we're like, all right, trust in the process. What did you do? What did you work? And then come competitions, like refine it a little bit, and then focus on what you had set in your mind, and then go and execute. Because that was the biggest thing, was preparation and execution.
Mm-hmm. So a coach can only do so much. Then it's on the athlete. And
Yes.
what was your approach to like really believing and internalizing a growth mindset?
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest thing was just believing in myself and knowing that I had the capability and the possibility to do it. Even if I was unsure, like I would visualize myself on top of the podium. And even in 2013, when, like, if you looked at paper, me versus the other athletes, there was no way like Margaux wouldn't make it. But like, I believed in it. I visualized it. I executed. If any bumps came up, I stuck to the plan and I qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, again, it comes down to the work and putting the effort in. But I think for myself is believing the fact that I can do it and having like almost like a all or nothing mentality. And I think that's really important. Is like, if you doubt yourself and you don't think you're able to do it, what you tell yourself and how you talk to yourself will have a direct impact to your body. And I think that was something I try to believe in. I also try to remember, this was specific to 2015, was my sister had passed away in 2008 from a car accident. And so I think I continued on living my life in the sense that maybe she's no longer here, but she's with me in spirit. So she can kind of watch and experience through my eyes. And I always try to channel like her strength and her spirit. So like come 2015, it was deficit strict handstand push-ups with rowing and chest to bar. I was like, if I'm not making the games, it's because of this workout. And you know, I, I prayed out to her. I kind of visualized and just said, I asked for your strength and kind of your guidance through this. And I think that was a big thing for myself, is not necessarily my why, but also like, I'm going to continue to give my all in anything that I do, because if it's not just for myself, it's for her as well. And for anyone else that's no longer with us today. I think that allows me to continue to have a bigger purpose and a higher purpose, that it's like, all right, she's no longer here. There's so many people in my family or life, people that I know that are no longer here. And it's like, we can do it to honor them and to honor their life. And I think maybe giving yourself to a higher power sometimes helps with that, because it gives you a bigger perspective of what you're doing. And I think if I believe in her and I believe in what I'm doing, that no matter what I do, if I give it my all and that's not enough, then at least I tried, versus, well, I didn't give it my all. Then I could have done better later. It's like, no, if you could have done better, then why didn't you do it? Right.
Hmm.
Like, so I think that was a big, kind of, I would say, guidance aspect of my life, and especially with competition.
Hmm. And now, and in the coach's seat, and you hear that doubt from people, what's your approach when you hear that from them?
It's great. So I'm actually working with a client. He's a little younger. He does horse carriage racing, and it is incredible, because when you hear and see it from like an athlete, or as from the athlete to a coach, it's like you can hear little things like terminology, like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, or like, oh, maybe one day. It's like those words that you're speaking, your body believes it, your mind believes it, but if you start to change that tune by 1 degree, that can start to increase that degree over time. And so it's hard, because we're all there. We were all at, page one at one point. And so talking to them and understanding, it's more about mindset. It's more about how you talk to yourself. The speak and the tone that you give yourself is important. But that belief is important. Just like, hey, I want to improve my back squat. Well, you need to squat. You need to do accessory work. You need to improve your core. You need to improve your balance. And over time, you can increase that. Just like the mindset, it's harder to measure sometimes, because we don't necessarily have like a weight, like, oh, I'm 5 pounds heavier, or I put 10 pounds on my back squat. Well, are you a little more positive today? Do you catch yourself in the negative self talk? Are you able to stop and say, hey, I appreciate where I'm at right here in this moment. I will continue to improve. Or I didn't visualize myself on the podium. Now I'm visualizing myself on the podium. I'm starting to make that change. So it's a little harder to measure, but the consistency of celebrating the successes, embracing the struggles, and stating kind of like an overall takeaway for the day is something I found very helpful. I have a mindset client that I'm working with, and she's been able to see huge gains just like by those three kind of daily tasks that we work through. And I think it is doable, but it takes repetition, takes time. And I think it also depends on your environment. If you're in a very positive environment, that can be very conducive to growth. If you're in a negative or toxic environment, that can definitely pull away, because no matter how many steps forward you're taking, if there's someone constantly poking or pulling you back, you'll have to work twice as hard to get out of there.
Hmm. Yeah, and environment's everything. Yeah, why I like working with youth is still just shaping that mindset and teaching them the power of the word yet. Well, I'm not good at this yet. I need more reps. I need more time. And then
Hmm.
even in worked into lacrosse, you can use both hands. So I have my strong hand. That's how they say. I'm like my weak hand. Let's just call it right and left. Let's be simple,
Yep,
so that way we don't already fail before we even begin to try. Um,
exactly.
and so as a coach, you get the opportunity to teach them how to respond to challenges. And how do you introduce new challenges to clients, new hurdles, and then put them in a position to embrace these, so that way they're prepared for hurdles that just come up that were not intentional by coach?
That's a great question. I think some of it obviously is a physical aspect in training, right? Giving them maybe heavier loads or different movements. Some of it's also getting them to expand their viewpoint or their focal point on something else. So, like with my weekly mindset drills, I do them even with my remote clients. We'll have some are maybe more focused on them or on others, but there'll be a weekly mindset task. And maybe that's something that's completely out of the left field of nothing related to training, but more about life. Like maybe, what are you thankful, grateful for? Or what obstacles have you overcome that you've maybe haven't celebrated? And so I'll try to have them take a step back. Maybe it's journal work, maybe it's sharing it with me. Some of it I love when they do share with me, because then we can kind of talk through it, we can discuss it. I think a lot of people don't realize how many struggles they do have with the mindset and how they talk to themselves, or almost like self-sabotage. So it's asking maybe a little more interpersonal communication skills, saying, hey, like, how does this make you feel? Like when you have a conversation with your partner, or when you go to the gym and you couldn't finish this rep, or you couldn't get a pull up, like how does that make you feel? almost asking self-reflective questions to get them to speak a little bit more. Cause then like, oh, well, I don't know I was feeling this. And it's like, well, maybe you were subconsciously thinking it and you're holding on to it. But now that you speak it or you write it or we discuss it, that gets externalized. So you're putting it out there, one that you can let go of it, right? So if something is no longer serving you, you can speak it and get it out, and oh, you might actually feel better, right? It's like a relief off the shoulders. Other times it might be like, hey, I didn't actually think about this. This allows me to think about it a little bit more. Then I can kind of sit with it, process it. And some people I think do really well. I have some clients that like to talk about it. Some people just like to write about it. And some people are like, hey, this is great. We talked about it. I'm done. I move that off to the way. So I think sometimes it's being able to, it's like a layer of an onion, like peeling it back a little bit more. Are they comfortable? And I don't want to push too much, but I also know, like, for me, I know that if I'm going to get growth, I have to put myself in an uncomfortable situation. If I can put them in a uncomfortable slash relatively comfortable position where they feel talking about it is a possibility, or even, hey, maybe let's get out through movement. Maybe it's run a little bit harder in the workout. Maybe lift a little bit heavier dumbbell so you push that effort out. I mean, like I said, movement is medicine, and if you're physically
Mm-hmm.
exhausted, sometimes that allows you to release the stress and everything you hold on to mentally.
Yeah, I like that. There's a term for uh, child and athlete development. It's called zone of proximal development. You're just teaching something
Mm,
just out of their level of understanding. We see it at elementary school education all the time. So even in behavior and challenge, something just outside their reach, and then we're building this confident one small step at a time. I want to give you a chance to talk about Go Train with a
yeah.
specific spelling that's featured now on Train Heroic.
Yes, so it's the Go, Gaux, which is like the last part of my name. Um, I was named after Chateau Margaux, which is a very famous region in France. And so I've just it's my handle 3, 2, and go, right? Let's go, just go has been kind of my hashtag with like with Rogue and just everything that I've done. And so I was like, well, it's also kind of an acronym like go train, like go to the gym, go do mobility, like all these little things. And I think for me, it's like we kind of talked a little offline. It's like for me, it's very important to do what we need to do in the gym so we can take our health and fitness and lifestyle out to the gym. And so that's the purpose of my Go Train program is let's get you strong, let's get you conditioned, let's give you some accessory work, not only to look good, but also to feel good, but also have functionality of your body pattern. Like let's put you in a space where if you want to go for a hike, if you want to go for a run, if you want to go do, you want to go through the Grand Canyon, you want to do all these different things that life might ask for you, the goal is to get you prepared there physically, right? So it's like 5 days of training. Obviously everything can be ebbed and flow, right? You're like, well, if I want 4 days, I can do that as well. But paired with that movement piece is that mindset piece. So like a weekly
Mhm.
mindset piece. And I've kind of structured out where I have like a mantra. And my mantra is, be accountable, prepare and execute, review your work, be patient, and either enjoy the journey or enjoy the process, right? So like a lot of pieces are layered off of that, but also like the self-reflection piece that I talked about earlier. So diving a little bit deeper, asking maybe more intuitive questions to, hey, how was your training? How's your fitness? How's your relationship with people? What's your stress like? Do you struggle with time management? Just to get them a little bit out. Like again, like I think of it as like that circle or that spoke, that wheel that we have. You have all these different offshoots. There's nutrition, there's fitness, there's stress, there's sleep, there's all these other things that come into a part. Like you said, if you kind of only train one, you're going to be off. So the Go Train program is designed to help you not only with the physical aspect, but also the mental aspect. The movement and mindset are interchangeable. We don't touch base too much on nutrition on there, but that's where like the one-on-one coaching or the personalized coaching
Mhm.
comes in when we start to work on nutrition, but also stress management, time management. What is your relationship with your environment, right? Those all those other elements that play into part. But those two are the two components of my Go Train program is movement and mindset, and getting you physically fit in the gym so you can take your fitness outside the gym and actually use it for life. Because I think a lot of people get caught up in like gym's great, but I don't want to spend all my time there. I want to go live life. I want to go river raft, or I want to go climb a
Yeah.
mountain. I want to go hike. I want to go, I don't know, Mount Everest, whatever it might be. Obviously, you'll need more training for that. But just saying, like having the idea of taking your fitness from inside the gym to outside the gym is important.
And the more fit you are, the easier it is to bounce back after those really physically challenging trips. The
Exactly, 100%.
within Train Heroic, one thing I like where you're having your reflection piece, people can choose to just type it in and keep it for themselves. They also have the opportunity to share it with the team. So that's cool that
Yes.
through Train Heroic you can do that. So yeah, I run a team Old Bull. It's just for former athletes, and a big part of it is who's looking out for the leaders. So then I have a systematic approach for just who's looking out for the heads of businesses, heads of households, and reflect on building self awareness, social awareness, self management, similar to time management, relationship building skills, and then tackle a lot of culture killers, resentment, envy, and stuff that, like,
That's
usually
good.
if you're the head of a gym, you're the head of a household, you're not getting a lot of support, praise, or reinforcement for your actions. So then you start looking outward, and then some negative sense could build. So aiming to just shine light on negative, just natural human feelings, on what we can look internally towards what those mean. So
I love
some
that.
people, yeah, some people on the program, they choose to share it with the team. Some just keep it themselves, and then some are taking those lessons and bringing it to their management teams in business or sports teams that they're taking on. So the I highly value what you're doing, combining movement and mindset. I don't think a lot of coaches on Train Heroic are doing that. It's a great tool. You have their attention, but let's try to build a holistic athlete so they can continue to do more awesome stuff outside of train. It's not about sets and
100%.
reps at that point.
Exactly. And I think when you live in that environment, like for us individuals who have been around fitness and are in the gym, where like everyone's healthy, everyone's active, everyone's moving, this is great. But then you go to Walmart or you go to the
Mm.
airport and you're like, wow, there's a whole other demographic, way larger demographic that maybe aren't putting movement or health or wellness or longevity as a priority. So how do we tackle that? And like I think a lot of it's similar to, I know this is kind of an extreme parallel or extreme example here, but you think of my 600-pound life, right? A lot of the people that have been on there, they've had some sort of maybe death in the family or loss in the family or some sort of struggle or some sort of battle with family. I lost my best friend or I lost my aunt, my child died, like all these things, right? And a lot of that comes down to like, how are you handling that? How are you processing that? Are you not processing that? Because that's a huge impediment. Impediment may not be the right word, but that's going to have a huge effect on your body and your mind. And that might lead you down this route where now you cope through food. And like you can still cope through fitness, right? People that have addictions, you can still use fitness and addiction. So are you using it a healthy way? Are you talking to someone, right? Are you having someone you can speak to? And maybe you don't have the ability to go to a therapist, right? Or a psychologist, but maybe having a friend or a coach or a mentor or someone that you can discuss with. And it's like, that's the purpose. Like, yes, this is a general program for overall health and wellness, but it's like I wanted to be a beacon for some people. Like, hey, if you're not sure where to go, especially for journal work, people are like, what do I write in my journal? Like, let's start with like the sky is out, it's sunny, and oh man, like blue makes me think of my kid, and I love my kid, and my kid brings a smile to my face, and then next thing you know, I spend 20 minutes talking about your kid and how much joy they bring you. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where it doesn't have to be set on parameters. Like there's might be some goalposts as like framework that you say, hey, these are like you go bowling, right? You have the little rails that go up, stay between these lines, but pretty much write whatever you want, right? And if people aren't sure with what they're going to start with, maybe it gives them a starting point. Like, all right, cool. Then eventually they'll get to the point where they'll feel more comfortable. And the same analogy again, you go to a Walmart, you go to an airport, and you're like, these people are not doing anything. How can we start? Going to the gym 5 days a week may not be their start, right? Maybe we're going to go for a walk 5 minutes a day, 3 days a week. Maybe we're going to do like my Just Go workouts and it's 5 movements of like sit ups on the floor and like maybe knee push ups. But hey, that's 5 minutes movement that you weren't doing yesterday. And then
Mm-hmm.
after 3 weeks, you're doing that 3 days a week, then eventually 4 days a week. So it's slowly titrating them up and getting them acclimated to that, just like anything else. But again, where's that starting point? I think sometimes, like I said, when we're in that gym, everyone does fitness, everyone's healthy. It's like you tell someone, hey man, I drink 7 sodas a day. You're like, cool. If I tell them to drink no sodas a day and drink lots of water, they're like, you're on crack. I'm keeping my 7 sodas. So it's like everyone's a little different. So it's understanding and kind of mitigating that. That was a little bit of a tangent, but sorry.
No, I like it. You're meeting them where they're at. Where's
Yes,
their starting point? So if
exactly.
if you're aiming to get folks moving and connecting their mindset to it, they're now empowered to spread the message to others. Just as they started with you, they can start with others, and then continue to, I mean, build a better place.
Exactly.
I love it, and Train Heroic's the best platform out there. So
It is. I
it,
really like it.
Time out. Tex here at Train Heroic headquarters, meeting with the team to talk about the coaching experience that I'm able to provide for my athletes. So if you're a coach and want to put your program out there on an app that athletes actually enjoy using, Train Heroic's for you. I've been using it since 2014, delivering literally over tens of thousands of workouts to athletes, and the Train Heroic allows me to provide the unique coaching experience that I want to. Uploading video, providing coaching feedback, directions, and building a community. That's why I love Train Heroic. And if you want to take your athletes where they can't take themselves, that they want to go, head to trainheroic.com/captains and check out how you can deliver programming to them. And now back to the show. Ready, and rip.
I have some fun questions for us to close down on. Just in my research, you had a trip to Austin about a year ago, and I'm super jealous.
Yeah.
The working with the freaking rodeo team here, how did that opportunity come about? And I mean, I got so many questions. I just want to know how you opened or kicked open that door.
Yeah, so actually through our mutual friend Chad, through Yeti. So Yeti's one of the sponsors for the Austin Gamblers, and they were actually looking to connect with some, I would say, fitness coaches, and so they connected us back in, I think it was 2023, which is 2 years ago now. Actually, it's 2 years ago as of this month. And
Okay,
so
2 years.
connected with them, and they were looking to do some kind of some training, and so we thought, well, let's get connected. I went down there to Austin, and that was during one of their kind of events. They had I would say like a signing event, an in-person event at Yeti's flagship store down in Austin. So went down there, did a training at one of the gyms, which was super awesome, like downtown Austin. And then actually had the opportunity to get on a bull. I did not
Mhm.
ride. Let me clarify. I did not ride the bull, but I got on the bull. They were like, "Do you want to open the doors?" I'm like, "I don't think so." And I'm curious to hear your story. You had a little experience with that. So it was mad props to all the riders. I think for me, it was a great experience to work with different athletes. They're very tight in their hip flexors and their adductors, right? Obviously, you're pulling in towards that bull. You're trying to stay tight. You need to have that tight core. So we did a lot of like some extension, right? Working on some mobility of the hips and adductors, also working on strengthening the backside, doing some hip extensions on the GHD was great, doing some thoracic mobility, some upper body mobility, because again, you're very forward, you're
Oh,
internal.
yeah.
I mean, you want to keep that tightness and that strength because that's important for what they do, but you also want to make sure you're avoiding injuries. And talking to some of the athletes like Dalton and Jose, like the amount of injuries and like, oh, a horn here or twisted foot here or broken this. I'm like, oh my gosh. So like it makes sense why they're going to have injuries. You got to work around them. At the same time, what can I do to make them maybe a little stronger in different positions to give them the tools that they need to be successful? So
Yeah,
it
they
was, yeah, it
are.
was phenomenal. It was a quick little trip. It was like 2, 3 days of that.
Yeah, they're all injuries. Like
Yes.
that's how is their grip strength?
Oh, so good, like super grip strength. And it's funny you say that because that was in July, and then they came out for the championship in October. I got to do some training out here at one of the gyms, CrossFit Culmination, that I coach at, and it was great, like grip strength for sure. I did kind of like a team fun style workout. I'm like, hey, you guys are working together, but like even though they're a team, right? They're each individual, right? So you could see that team competition be very prevalent. But they have great grip strength, incredible to see like everything that they're doing. But again, want to make sure we're good and mobile, getting some flexibility in there, strengthening the backside of the body. Team communication, again, they're competitive, right? They want to like one up each other. The sled pushes and pulls were fabulous, but it's cool to see that camaraderie with each other.
Yeah, yeah. I stumbled on that video on YouTube, and I'm like, what? Where did this come from? This is amazing. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
very
and
grateful
then
opportunity. Huge shout out to Chad and to Yeti for that.
yeah, Chad Nelson, so sponsor of the podcast as well.
Yes.
Um, yeah, yeah, freaking that just brings me so much joy. I've my bull riding career lasted zero point 0.8 seconds, and then my program on Train Heroic is called Old Bull, inspired by this because I'm
I love
still
that.
feeling the
The eight
years of
seconds.
yeah, the hitting on the ground. I hit the ground so hard I landed on my feet and was able to walk away. But the video
Oh
you
wow.
have in the shoot where they're like pointing and giving you instructions, I was an idiot. I was 24 years old, graduated grad school. I couldn't get a job. This is like 2010 when the economy was terrible. So I
Yeah.
went and worked on a dude ranch, and the only escape we had is we had Saturday nights off, and there was a rodeo just down the road every Saturday night. It was called Crider's Rodeo outside of Kerrville in Hunt, Texas, in the middle of nowhere, and you could just sign up to enter into the rodeo. So I
No
had a
way.
couple big boy sodas as inspiration and went, paid $10, signed my life away, called my dad, told him I loved him, and then the person I signed the deal with, they told me to go find this old Mexican dude, and I can't remember his name. So then I asked all these guys who were setting up horses and just around trucks for this man, and finally I got to him, and he looks at me. He's like, "You've been drinking anything today?" I said, "Yeah, I just had a couple beers." He's like, "Stop. This is a life or death situation." So sobered up right there, and this is 3 o'clock. The show starts at 8, and he asked me if I had a chest protector, gloves, rope, spurs. Of course, I didn't have any of it. I just thought, Dunning Kruger, this must be easy. You just got to hold on. It's only 8 seconds. So then was able to piecemeal all the equipment, spurs, chest protector, rope. What I didn't get was a helmet, and I
Oh
could have
no.
used a lacrosse helmet, did not. And then
Oh my god.
uh, they were supposed to put me in like the junior lineup. So in rodeo, there's like a set formula. Every rodeo's just got the same playbook of events, and usually there's kids bull riding. Well, no kids signed up for this one, so they were like, just put them in the show. So when I was supposed to go at one time, it was delayed like another hour. So
Oh man.
uh, they I was in I was a third or fourth. So two guys ahead of me was a pro. So it was a
Oh
big
gosh.
deal. The announcers celebrated this guy. Can't remember his name, but if you win the Crider's Rodeo, you get a belt buckle for the best score. So this guy was going to crush it, and I'm standing like above the chute, just above the pit, and right when he left his gate, the bull just took a hard 180 and slammed the fence right under me. He got thrown off into the fence, and then the bull just kept on running him into the fence and ripped open his shirt. There was blood everywhere, and I was two people away, and I'm like, oh crap, this is real. So the
Damn.
yeah, kid in front of me was that old Mexican dude's son. So he's 16 years old, and he was a great teammate. He was hyping me up, and he's like, "You got this." And then he jumped on, and I couldn't tell you what he did because at this point I'm in my own head. And
Yeah.
finally step up. I get in the chute just like you were, and then similar experience you had. I had all these old cowboys around me. They were all trying to give me advice, and I pointed at one. I told them all to shut up. I just pointed at one dude. Tell me what to do. And he said, "Well, you're gonna grip under here, and when you count to three, 1, 2, 3, you're gonna dig your spurs in and tell us go. We're gonna open up the door." So I took a minute. I visualized in my mind, okay, 1, 2, 3. And on three, in my visualization, I'm still in the chute, caged up. I actually dug in. And so the bull starts going nuts and banging my knees against
Mm.
the cage. That was the worst pain I've ever been in. I'm like, this is it. 3, 2, 1, go. Let her rip.
Yeah. Go open the door.
Open the door, and then I just go flying off the bull, and again hit the ground so hard I land on my feet, and I start walking back to the chute, and I'm just staring down this bull. Fortunately, he went that way, and I like walked away like a tough guy, but inside I'm like, no, no, what am I? I'm so stupid. Um,
You're like never again.
no, no, no way. I got lucky. And then after the rodeo is a big dance and live music. And I was just like the belle of the ball. Like everyone was coming up to me, and it was like, I'm going to hold on to this moment. This is it. I can't do that
Good for
again.
you.
I'll
Yeah.
take my point
Soak it
eight
up because it's
and
not come
win.
back around.
Nope. Nope. Yeah. So it was a great experience, but yeah, knowing the culture and still aiming to stay close to it as I can. Those guys are just great. They're just great people, and freaking risk
Yep.
risk averse at the same time, are willing to listen and be coachable athletes. And it's a beautiful sport. I'm Oklahoma State University as a team, so like it's growing in its respect, and man, they're fearless, and it's beautiful.
It is.
Yeah, so just excited that they got you in there to coach them up, and they were willing to listen and try and just let's go, like go hard. So
Yeah, exactly. Let's
uh,
go Gamblers.
yeah. So very
Yeah, they're
cool.
awesome. Yeah, JJ's were super cool. All the athletes were amazing. So grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for you coming on the show. If people want to follow your training, if they want to continue to follow your journey and buy some wine, where do they go?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, margauxalvarez.com, or if they want to check out my Instagram, 321go, GAUX, and then pretty much all my handles are either my name, Margaux Alvarez, or 321go. And then I'll say the Go training program on Train Heroic. And then I'm all out of wine right now, but I'm hopefully going to do my next production in the spring of next year. And that will be under a new label. So I'll have a small production with that, but the goal is to get that out there. It'll be a similar blend as before, a red blend, Petit Syrah, Syrah, and Grenache. So definitely keep you posted on that. So
Perfect. Great post
yeah.
workout meal.
Yes, exactly. Work hard, wind down.
There you go. Well, Margaux, thank you. And
Of course. Thank
listeners,
you
thank
so
you very
much.
much. All right. And
Awesome.
scene.